The capture and transformation. The ambush. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the exploration vessel Aurora's Edge, watching the stars streak past through the main viewport. The ship hummed quietly around her, carrying 37 souls deeper into uncharted space than any human had ventured before. They were pioneers, explorers seeking new worlds for humanity's expansion. Sarah had volunteered for this mission specifically because it meant pushing boundaries, discovering the unknown. "Captain, we're picking up some unusual energy signatures ahead," reported Lieutenant Marcus Torres from the sensor station. His voice carried the calm professionalism that had made him her trusted first officer over the past 3 years. Sarah moved to stand behind him, studying the readings on his console. The patterns were unlike anything in their databases, but that wasn't unusual out here in the frontier. Could be a natural phenomenon. Set course to investigate, but keep us at a safe distance. What they found instead was a massive alien vessel, sleek and predatory in design, its hull gleaming with an oily black surface that seemed to absorb light. It hung motionless in space, apparently waiting for them. "Captain, they're powering weapons," Torres called out, his voice tight with sudden alarm. Sarah had perhaps 3 seconds to process this information before the first energy beam struck their shields. The Aurora's Edge shuddered violently, throwing several crew members to the deck. Sparks flew from overloaded consoles as the lights flickered. "Red alert. All hands to battle stations," Sarah commanded, gripping her command chair as another blast rocked the ship. Their shields were already down to 60%. This wasn't a scientific expedition vessel built for combat. "Return fire with whatever we have," she ordered, knowing it was futile. Their defensive weapons were designed to clear debris and defend against pirates, not engage what appeared to be a military warship. The alien vessel's response was swift and devastating. A sustained barrage of energy weapons tore through their remaining shields and began carving deep wounds in the Aurora's Edge's hull. Atmosphere vented from multiple breaches, and the ship's systems began failing one by one. "Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, Torres reported, blood running from a cut on his forehead. "Life support is failing. We've lost main power." Sarah made the hardest decision of her career. Abandon ship. All crew to the escape pods immediately. "That's an order." "Captain, what about you?" Torres asked, though he was already moving to carry out her command. "Someone needs to make sure everyone gets out safely. Someone needs to ensure our data gets transmitted back to Earth. That someone is me." She turned to face him directly. "Marcus, get our people home. Tell command what we found out here." The evacuation took 12 agonizing minutes. Sarah watched from the bridge as pod after pod launched from the dying ship, carrying her crew to safety. The alien vessel made no attempt to intercept them. They were only interested in one prize. When the last pod cleared the ship's hull, Sarah transmitted everything they had learned back toward human space on the emergency beacon, then prepared to go down with her ship like the captains of old Earth's navies. The alien vessel had other plans. The capture. Sarah woke up strapped to a metal table in a room that hurt to look at. The walls seemed to bend in ways that made her eyes water, and the lighting came from sources she couldn't identify. The air tasted metallic and wrong. Standing over her was something that might have once been beautiful, if beauty could be carved from nightmares. The alien was tall and graceful, with pale blue skin that shifted color like oil on water. Its face was vaguely humanoid but elongated, with large black eyes that held an intelligence both ancient and cruel. "You are awake," it said in perfect English, its voice carrying musical tones that somehow made the words more disturbing. "Good. I am Commander Zexthal of the Nexari Empire. You are Captain Sarah Chen of the human exploration vessel Aurora's Edge." Sarah tested her restraints quietly while maintaining eye contact. The bonds were some kind of energy field that resisted her movements without seeming to have any physical components. "If you know who I am, then you know I won't tell you anything useful." Zexthal's mouth curved in what might have been a smile, if it hadn't revealed rows of needle-sharp teeth. "Oh, Captain Chen, you misunderstand our intentions entirely. We are not here to extract information from you. We are here to conduct research." "Research? Your species is remarkably resilient. Surprisingly so. When we first encountered human settlements at the edge of your space, we expected easy conquest. Instead, we found adversaries who refused to surrender even when defeat was certain. Humans who fought with tools and tactics that defied our predictions." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the room's temperature. "You've been attacking our colonies." "Studying them," Zexthul corrected. "We have learned much, but we need to understand the source of human tenacity. What makes your species so difficult to break? What gives you the will to continue fighting when any rational being would surrender?" The alien moved to a console that had grown from the wall like a technological tumor. Its fingers danced across controls that seemed to respond to thought as much as touch. To answer these questions, we must push a human subject to their absolute limits. We must discover the breaking point of human endurance. Sarah realized with growing horror that she was about to become their test subject. "My crew made it out. Earth will know what happened here." "Perhaps, but that changes nothing for you, Captain Chen. You are going to help us understand humanity, whether you wish to or not." The pain chambers. The torture began immediately. Zexthul and his assistant, a cold-eyed scientist named Dr. Vexcari, subjected Sarah to methods both ancient and advanced. Physical pain alternated with psychological torment. They seemed to have studied human anatomy extensively, knowing exactly how to cause maximum suffering without allowing her to lose consciousness or die. Days blended into weeks. Sarah lost count after the first month. The Nexeri were methodical in their cruelty, documenting her every response, measuring her brain activity, recording how long she could endure each new torment before showing signs of breaking. But Sarah had spent 15 years in Earth's military before joining the exploration service. She had been trained to resist interrogation, to compartmentalize pain, to find strength in the darkest moments. More importantly, she carried the stubborn human refusal to quit that the Nexeri were trying so hard to understand. "Fascinating," Dr. Vexcari noted during one session, studying readings on her instruments. Subjects' stress hormone levels should have caused complete psychological breakdown by now, yet neural pathways remain intact. There appears to be some form of adaptive response occurring. Sarah barely heard the words through the haze of agony, but some part of her mind filed them away. The aliens were learning something they hadn't expected. Something about her responses was confusing them. "Increase the bioenhancement stimulation," Zexthul ordered. "Let us see what happens when we push her cellular structure to its limits." This was new. Instead of simple torture, they began injecting her with compounds that felt like liquid fire in her veins. The pain was different now, deeper, as if it were rewriting her from the inside out. Sarah screamed until her voice gave out, then screamed silently as waves of transformation racked her body. "Remarkable," Vexcari breathed. "Her DNA is actually adapting to the stress. The enhancement compounds are integrating with her genetic structure instead of destroying it." Sarah felt changes happening to her that she couldn't understand. Her vision became sharper even through the tears of pain. She could hear conversations in distant parts of the facility. Her muscles felt different, denser, more responsive. Most disturbing of all, she began to sense the emotional states of her captors. "Subject is developing enhanced sensory capabilities," Vexcari reported. This was not an expected outcome. Zexthul leaned closer to study Sarah's face. "Can you hear us, human?" Sarah met his gaze with eyes that now held flecks of silver light. "Every word," she whispered, her voice carrying harmonics that hadn't been there before. The unexpected evolution. As the weeks of torture continued, Sarah's body continued to change in ways that alarmed even her Nexeri captors. The enhancement compounds they had been using to cause pain were instead triggering evolutionary leaps that normally would have taken millennia. Her reflexes became superhuman. During one session, when a guard carelessly came too close, Sarah moved faster than their eyes could follow, nearly breaking free before additional restraints could be applied. Her intelligence was expanding as well. She began to understand the Nexeri language without being taught, picking up their conversations and learning about their technology and society. The pain that should have broken her mind was instead forging it into something harder and more capable. "This is unprecedented," Vex Carey confided to Zexthal during one of their planning sessions, unaware that Sarah could now hear them clearly from her cell. "The subject's neural activity is off our charts. She's developing abilities that exceed even our own capabilities." "Then we increase the pressure," Zexthal replied coldly. "We break her, or we learn what it takes to create such enhancements in our own people." But Sarah was learning too. She began to understand the technology keeping her imprisoned, the patterns of energy that held her, the weaknesses in the systems around her. More importantly, she was beginning to understand what she was becoming. The girl they had captured was disappearing, replaced by something that was still human in mind and spirit, but enhanced beyond normal biological limits. She was evolving into something the galaxy had never seen before. The false breaking. After 3 months of constant torture and unwitting enhancement, Sarah made a strategic decision. She began to show signs of breaking, giving her captors small victories to convince them their methods were finally working. "Please," she whispered during one session, allowing tears to flow down her changed face. "I can't take any more. What do you want to know?" Zexthal's eyes gleamed with triumph. "Now we make progress. Tell me about human military capabilities. How many ships does Earth possess? What are their defensive strategies?" Sarah fed them carefully crafted lies mixed with obsolete information. She told them about ships that didn't exist, bases that had been abandoned years ago, and defensive strategies that had been replaced by more advanced tactics. All the while, she continued to learn and grow stronger. The Nexeri, convinced they were finally extracting valuable intelligence, reduced their security around her. They began to see her as broken, defeated, no longer a threat. This was exactly what Sarah needed. "You have done well, Captain Chen," Zexthal told her after she had provided another batch of false information. "Your cooperation will make the conquest of your species much more efficient." Sarah nodded weakly, playing her part. Inside, something that was no longer entirely human smiled with anticipation. Soon, she thought, very soon, they would learn what they had actually created. Her transformation was nearly complete. The pain had forged her into something new, something dangerous. The Nexeri had tortured a human woman, but what they were about to face was something else entirely. The girl they had left for dead was human. The weapon that was about to return wasn't. The awakening and revenge. The transformation complete. Sarah lay perfectly still on the cold metal table, her breathing shallow and controlled. 3 months of torture had ended 2 days ago, when Zexthal declared her sufficiently broken to be useful. 3 months of agony had fundamentally rewritten every cell in her body. The Nexeri enhancement compounds, designed to cause maximum suffering, had instead triggered evolutionary changes that defied their understanding of biology. Her captors thought she was defeated, a broken human reduced to providing intelligence about her species' weaknesses. They had no idea they had created something unprecedented in galactic history. Sarah could feel the power humming through her transformed body. Her bones had become denser than titanium while remaining flexible. Her muscles contained fibers that operated on principles the Nexeri didn't understand. Her nervous system processed information at speeds that made their advanced computers seem sluggish. Most importantly, her mind had evolved beyond human limitations. She could sense the electronic systems around her, feel the flow of energy through the station's networks, and perceive the thoughts and emotions of every living being within a kilometer radius. The door to her cell hissed open. Dr. Vex Carey entered with 2 guards, carrying another batch of interrogation drugs. "Time for your daily session, human," she said with cold satisfaction. "Commander Zexthal is eager to learn more about your species' military installations." Sarah didn't move or respond. She appeared to be in the same defeated state they had grown accustomed to over the past weeks. The guards approached carelessly, no longer viewing her as a threat. That was their final mistake. Sarah's eyes snapped open, revealing pupils that now glowed with silver fire. In a movement too fast for organic eyes to follow, she flowed from the table like liquid mercury. Her restraints, sophisticated energy fields that could hold a raging Nexari warrior, simply dispersed as she touched them. The first guard didn't even have time to cry out. Sarah's hand touched his chest, and some form of energy discharge stopped his heart instantly. The second guard managed to raise his weapon before Sarah's other hand caught his throat. She lifted his substantial weight off the ground with casual ease, studying his terrified face with curious detachment. "Interesting," she said in a voice that carried harmonics no human throat should produce. "I can feel your fear. Taste it. Your species' terror has a very distinctive flavor." Dr. Vexcari backed toward the door, her scientific curiosity warring with basic survival instinct. "What have you become?" she whispered. Sarah turned her glowing gaze toward the Nexari scientist. "I am what you made me. I am the answer to your research question. You wanted to understand what makes humans so resilient. Congratulations, Doctor. You've discovered that when you try to break us, sometimes we evolve instead." The doctor's hand moved toward her emergency communicator, but Sarah was there before she could complete the motion. With surgical precision, Sarah disabled Vexcari's motor functions, leaving her conscious but paralyzed. "Oh no, Doctor. You and I have so much to discuss. After all, you were the one who designed most of the procedures that transformed me. I think it's only fair that you experience some of your own methods firsthand." The hunt begins. Sarah moved through the Nexari research station like a force of nature. The facility that had been her prison for 3 months now became her hunting ground. She had memorized every corridor, every room, every system during her captivity. More than that, her enhanced senses allowed her to track every living being aboard the station. The first alarm sounded when the guards failed to report in. Sarah smiled as she heard Zexthal's voice over the intercom system, ordering a security sweep of the detention levels. The commander's emotional signature radiated confidence mixed with annoyance. He still thought he was dealing with a broken human prisoner. Sarah decided to enlighten him. The security team that found her empty cell discovered something that would haunt their nightmares for the rest of their very short lives. The 2 guards were arranged in poses that suggested they had died in impossible agony, while Dr. Vexcari sat upright in the corner, eyes wide with terror, but unable to speak or move. "Report." Zexthal's voice crackled over their communicators. "Commander," one of the security officers managed to say, his voice shaking, "the human is gone. The guards are dead, and Dr. Vexcari appears to be in some kind of paralytic state. Impossible. Deploy all security personnel. Find her and bring her back to containment immediately." But Sarah was already among them, moving through the station's ventilation systems with impossible speed and silence. She struck at the security teams one by one. Each encounter lasted only seconds. The enhanced human was faster than they could react, stronger than their weapons could stop, and more intelligent than their tactical training could counter. Lieutenant Kethmar commanded the station's security forces, a veteran of dozens of campaigns against various species. He had never encountered anything like this. His teams were disappearing one by one, often with no sign of struggle, as if they had simply ceased to exist. "Commander Zexthal," he reported over a secured channel, "we have a serious problem. Whatever that human has become, our standard weapons are ineffective. I've lost half my security force in the past hour." "That's impossible," Zexthal replied, but Sarah could hear the growing fear in his voice. "She's one human female. Deploy heavy weapons if necessary." Sarah laughed softly as she listened to their communications. She was currently standing on the ceiling above another security patrol, her body somehow adhering to the smooth metal surface in defiance of physics. The 4-member team below her had no idea death hung literally over their heads. She dropped among them like an avenging angel, her movements too fast and fluid for them to process. In seconds, the corridor was silent again, except for the soft sound of her feet touching the deck. The roles reverse. Commander Zexthul stood in his command center, surrounded by his remaining loyal guards and the most advanced defensive systems the Nexari possessed. The central chamber was designed to be impregnable, with multiple layers of energy shields and automated weapon systems. "Sir, we've lost contact with all security teams," reported his communications officer, his voice tight with fear. The human appears to be systematically eliminating every Nexari on the station. Zexthul's confidence was finally cracking. The creature they had tortured for months was hunting his people with methodical precision. Each death seemed calculated to spread maximum terror among the survivors. "How many of our personnel remain?" he asked. 17, sir, all located here in the command center." From a mere crew of over 200 Nexari, they were down to 17 terrified survivors barricaded in what they hoped was a secure location. The human they had thought broken was systematically destroying everything they had built. The lights in the command center suddenly dimmed, then began to flicker in a pattern that seemed almost like Morse code. The message they spelled out was simple: "I'm coming." "She's in the computer systems," the technical officer reported, panic creeping into his professional demeanor. "Somehow she's interfaced directly with our networks. This shouldn't be possible." Zexthul's mandibles clicked nervously. "Lock down all systems. Cut power to everything non-essential. Establish a communication blackout." But it was too late. The massive blast doors of the command center began to cycle open despite every security protocol they had in place. Emergency systems failed one by one as an intelligence far beyond their technology took control of their own station. Sarah walked through the opening doors like an empress returning to reclaim her throne. Her appearance had changed dramatically from the broken human they remembered. She moved with predatory grace, her silver-flecked eyes scanning the terrified Nexari like a collector examining interesting specimens. "Hello, Commander Zexthul," she said, her voice carrying notes that seemed to resonate in the alien's bones. "I believe you wanted to understand human resilience. Let me give you a practical demonstration." The tables turned. The remaining Nexari guards opened fire with every weapon they possessed. Energy beams that could vaporize solid rock struck Sarah's form, only to be absorbed or deflected by some field that surrounded her. She walked through their assault like it was a gentle rain. "Fascinating," Sarah said, pausing to examine one of the energy weapons that a guard had dropped in terror. "Your technology is quite sophisticated, but it operates on principles that are so limited." She closed her hand around the weapon, and it began to glow with the same silver energy that emanated from her eyes. When she opened her palm, the weapon had been transformed into something entirely different, its molecular structure rearranged into a configuration that hummed with power. "You see, Commander, the real difference between humans and most other species isn't our stubbornness or our refusal to surrender. It's our adaptability. When faced with challenges that should destroy us, we find ways to not just survive, but to become stronger." Zexthul backed against the command center's central console, his proud bearing finally collapsing into raw terror. "What do you want?" "Information. The location of our fleet. I'll tell you anything." Sarah smiled, an expression that no longer held any warmth. "Oh, Commander, you still don't understand. I don't want information from you. I want to complete the experiment you started." "What experiment?" "You wanted to find the breaking point of human endurance. Well, you've found something far more interesting. You've discovered what happens when you don't break us. Now I want to find out what your breaking point is." Sarah gestured, and energy fields, similar to those that had once held her immobilized, the surviving Nexari. But these restraints were far more sophisticated, responding to her will rather than preset parameters. "The beauty of what you've created in me," Sarah continued, moving among her captors like a teacher addressing students, "is that I understand your technology better than you do now. Your enhancement compounds didn't just change my body, they evolved my consciousness. I can interface with your systems, manipulate your energy fields, even alter matter at the molecular level. She stopped in front of Dr. Vexcari, who had been brought to the command center as a prisoner. But most importantly, I can modify your own enhancement techniques, improve them, make them more educational. The message to humanity. While the Nexeri experienced their own version of the research they had conducted on Sarah, she accessed the station's long-range communication systems. Her enhanced consciousness interfaced directly with the quantum transmission array, sending a message across the galaxy toward human space. The signal that reached Earth 3 days later was unlike anything human technology had ever produced. It carried information compressed in ways that their best scientists couldn't fully understand, but the basic message was clear enough. Admiral Elena Vasquez stood in the briefing room of Fleet Command, studying the data that had been extracted from the alien transmission. "You're telling me this message came from Captain Chen?" Dr. James Mitchell, the Navy's leading expert on xenobiology, nodded grimly. "The quantum signature matches her biometrics, but Admiral, what sent this message isn't entirely human anymore. The processing power required to compress this much information into a single transmission is beyond our most advanced AIs. What does she say?" "The Nexeri Empire has been systematically attacking our outer colonies for months, studying us. They captured Captain Chen to learn about human psychology and endurance. Their torture methods accidentally triggered some kind of evolutionary transformation." Admiral Vasquez studied the stellar charts showing Nexeri positions. "What's her current status?" "According to this data, she's taken control of their research station and eliminated the entire crew." "But Admiral, there's more. She's sending us complete specifications for Nexeri technology, their military capabilities, even the locations of their fleet positions." The Admiral frowned. "That's incredibly valuable intelligence, but I'm hearing a but in your voice, Doctor. The psychological profile analysis suggests that whatever Captain Chen has become, she may no longer consider herself fully human. The message includes a warning that she intends to hunt down every Nexeri installation that participated in attacks on human colonies. That sounds like good news to me." Dr. Mitchell pulled up another section of the data. "Perhaps, but she also indicates that she's learned how to replicate the transformation process. She's offering to enhance other humans the same way she was enhanced." Admiral Vasquez stared at the data in silence for a long moment. "Are you telling me that Captain Chen has become some kind of superhuman weapon?" "I'm telling you that the woman we sent out to explore the galaxy has evolved into something that might be humanity's salvation or its greatest threat. And based on this transmission, she's just getting started." The new path forward. Sarah stood alone in the command center of the Nexeri research station, surrounded by the remains of her former captors. The facility was now under her complete control, its systems integrated with her enhanced consciousness. She had become something unprecedented in galactic history, a hybrid of human determination and advanced alien technology. The girl they had tortured was gone forever. In her place stood something that retained human emotions and values, but possessed capabilities that transcended biological limitations. She was no longer bound by the constraints that limited other species. Through the station's sensors, she could perceive Nexeri ships approaching from across their empire. Drawn by the automated distress signals, they were coming to investigate what had happened to their research facility. They would find answers they weren't prepared for. Sarah smiled as she began modifying the station's defensive systems with principles that combined human ingenuity with Nexeri technology. The approaching fleet would serve as her first test subjects for the enhanced torture techniques she had developed. But her real focus was on the message she had sent to Earth. Humanity would need to evolve if it was going to survive what was coming. The Nexeri Empire was vast and powerful, with technology that exceeded human capabilities in most areas. Most areas, but not all. Humans possessed something that no other species she had encountered shared: the ability to adapt and overcome seemingly impossible challenges. The torture that was meant to break her had instead unlocked potential that even she didn't fully understand yet. Sarah began preparing for the next phase of her transformation. The Nexeri had created a monster when they tried to break a human. Now that monster was going to teach the galaxy what happened when you underestimated humanity's capacity for evolution. The girl they had left for dead was human. The weapon that had returned was something entirely new, something that would reshape the balance of power across the stars. And she was just beginning to explore what she could become.